News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Real cool to hear from truckers and from you on if you want electric semis delivering all your goods and services, as Joe Biden is forcing, he shoved it through on Friday, on Good Friday, so that you wouldn't notice it. And the order will force 60% of new urban delivery trucks, 25% of long-haul tractor sales by 2032. And it is an unmitigated disaster based on what the Wall Street Journal editorial board shared today, but also on what we're hearing from the truckers at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. I'm asking if you want electric semis delivering all your goods and services, and are you willing to pay more for a lot more and have a lot more road congestion because the trucks are so much heavier with these massive batteries in them, and that means they'll damage the roads, so they cannot carry nearly as much freight. And also, are you okay with more brownouts and blackouts in our energy grid in order to make our grid more green, which is another piece the Journal did the other day, calling it the coming electricity crisis, which I'll share with you in a second. Before we go to Dan in El Paso and your call at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227, here's a little bit more that I wanted to share with you. Truckers will pass on these costs to customers, the Journal says. It's Biden's trickle-down economics. The source of battery material is from China. China's BYD was California's top-selling truck maker in 2022, where it's being forced a lot earlier there. The mandates and subsidies are the reason the Chinese are invading us with their electric trucks. The EPA projects its rule will, quote, avoid 1 billion metric tons of CO2 from 2027 to 2055. But guess what? That's how much emissions from China and India rose in 1 year last year alone. So Biden is destroying our economy and everything in the trucking industry to save what they say will save the EPA CO2 emissions in a period of like 26 to 28 years, what China and India belched last year alone. It's a joke. The mandate will do nothing to reduce global temperatures, says the Journal. The EPA's press release shows laudatory statements coming from left-wing groups such as the Hip Hop Caucus, which claims to use cultural expression to dismantle oppressive systems. The Journal closes by saying the administration's oppressing American businesses and consumers with a destructive regulation to curry favor with hip-hoppers. No thanks. Dan in El Paso, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP. I should say you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hello, Dan.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
Oh, good. Well, I drive a route from San Angelo, Texas to El Paso 4 days a week, sometimes 5.
That's a haul.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What is that, like 10 hours?
Miles.
10 hours?
It's actually a 12-hour day. It's 6 hours there, 6 hours back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
But here, check this out.
Yes.
I was wondering, nobody's talked about this. I'm in oil field country, and man, all these little towns like Van Horn, Bomaray, Pecos, Kermit, they literally have like 500 trucks in a small area, and these are oil field trucks. We're hauling pipe, water, whatever. But how are they going to power all those trucks a night, and they only have like 3 truck stops in the whole town? How is that going to happen? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, how's it going to go 170 miles? Can you even comprehend how many charging stations they're going to need? And each charging station literally is enough is enough to power when it's being used, is powering a small city.
Yes, these towns are so small that it's going to be so impossible. That would literally kill our company if they did that to us. I mean, they would have to literally hire 3 people to do what I'm doing right now in one day.
It's unbelievable how stupid this is, and they just shoved it through. They snuck it through on Good Friday, and they expect it to just happen and have no freaking idea how this is going to come together.
Well, just like the government, they're good at breaking everything.
This is worse, isn't it? This is like stupendously idiotic. I mean, on its face, this is unachievable and so stupid. Dan,
it goes to show the people that are running everything right now. literally have no clue of what real Americans actually do for a living.
But they sure know what they want to do to us, though, don't they?
Oh, yes, I agree.
Yes. By the way, what do you think our Texas electric grid or even our other grids across the country could handle this?
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, it would kill a lot of these little cities.
Absolutely. It would kill the grid not only in Texas with our standalone, but also the grids that are plugged in all over the country. It's a disaster. Dan, thanks, and I'm glad to talk to you trucking, brother. It's really cool to talk to you.
Oh, man, awesome talking to you, Chris. Thank you.
All right, brother. Drive safe. Okay. Look at this, by the way. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. The coming electricity crisis. And they mention us in this column from over the weekend, Friday the 29th. The Journal talked about the coming electricity crisis. IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the big Green New Deal or whatever, IRA tax credits can offset up to 50% of the cost of renewable operators. They're trying to do all this garbage, wind and solar and everything. Baseload plants, the Journal says, cannot turn a profit operating only when needed to back up renewables. So you see what I'm saying? Like these, what they're saying? All these natural gas plants and everything that are critical to us, coal plants, nuclear plants, they can't make a profit if they're only being used when the green garbage stuff, the solar and the wind, doesn't work enough. How do you turn a profit when you use it maybe 1/10 or 1/5 of the time? It doesn't. It has to be used all the time. This was the main culprit, says the Journal, for Texas. That's us. For Texas, week-long power outage in February 2021 and the eastern U.S.'s rolling blackouts during the Christmas of 2022 was this green garbage. It's not just in Texas, it's also happening in the eastern U.S. The media will discover this problem eventually, though not this year, if it might call into question Biden's climate agenda. Perhaps they'll notice when more blackouts arrive. Amen on that. We got 3 lines open at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. 2 questions. Are you okay with more brownouts and blackouts on our energy grid in order to make our grid more green? And do you want electric semis delivering all your goods and services? Are you willing to pay more for it and have a lot more road congestion? Nathan in Saginaw, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Nathan.
Hey, man. How's it going?
Good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Love talking to our truckers. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to let you know, my granddad, he drove the very last horse-drawn water truck there in Fort Worth.
Okay.
And the very first gasoline-powered water truck in
Wow.
Fort Worth.
Wow. That's cool.
So what I'm saying is times change, you know?
Say it again? Times change. Yes. Okay, yes.
I definitely agree with you that with what's going on with this electric thing is stupid.
Yes.
It's not going to work at the truck stop and everything else. I mean, it's going to be. When I first started driving a truck, it was like the Wild West out there. And, boy, they changed that.
What year was that?
And, do what?
What year was that?
Well, that would have been in 1980.
Okay.
And, boy, they changed that. And I'm just pointing out that, like life goes on, you can't change it. Things happen. And, but I think that they'll figure it out, you know.
Okay, but is this going to work where you can't go more than 170 miles on your truck, and then and it has to carry less goods because it's too heavy, because the battery is so heavy it'll destroy the roads with the weight?
No, sir, that is completely stupid. They're going to have to. They're going to have to figure that out.
And then how about the charging station pulling the same amount of power that a small city does every day?
That's what I'm talking about. They're going to have. If they're going to change, then they're going to have to figure it out.
Well, they figured it out, they say, because they're already mandating it.
Yeah. Well, they're going to find themselves in big pile of, you know what?
I agree, my brother. Great call. Love to hear from my trucker friends and listeners. Two lines open at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. What do you think? Do you want more brownouts and blackouts on our energy grid in order to make the grid more green? And do you want electric semis delivering all your goods and services? Are you willing to pay more for it and have more road construction? Two lines open, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, what happened to Tesla? Are they still selling a lot of cars? Not good news for them. That is next on the Chris Crock Show on WBAP. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. One line open, 800-288-WBAP. That's 800-288-9227. Tesla, Q1. First quarter delivery report shows an 8.5% drop. And who doesn't like Musk on this on this station? But I'm not a fan of the EV stuff, and his sales are going down. That's bad. But I think everybody's maxed out, and people don't want to do this crap. I don't blame them. It's not something I want to do. How about trucks? Joe Biden pushed through, and without anybody knowing, he tried to sneak it through on Good Friday, a mandate for truckers to have to use EV trucks. And this is going to be a disaster, as we're learning. Do you want electric semis delivering all your goods and services? Are you willing to pay more for it and have more road congestion, because you're going to have a lot more trucks, 2-3 more trucks to carry the same amount of freight with the weight? It cannot carry it. Are you okay with having more brownouts and blackouts, by the way, on our energy grid as well, in order to make our grid more green, quote unquote? Heck no, is what I say. Let's go to Ray in Gainesville. Ray, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Ray.
Hey, I've already got mine on presets.
Good.
Hey, Chris. Check on the internet. Read about the trucks that blocked up Interstate 80 between Sacramento and Reno. The electric trucks that died in the cold and then blocked the road. They won't make it. You cut your mileage in half with it because of the cold. And I've been in Truckee, which is the top of Donner Pass, when it's negative 22 degrees.
Say it again, the last part. Say that one again.
I've been in Truckee when it's negative 22 degrees.
Wow.
So I guarantee you, the electric ain't going to make it. There's no power grid for it. California's already got a power grid problem. The whole country, when it gets cold, well, how you say they're supposed to get 150 miles? How about 75? How about maybe 50 before they're dead? Yeah, and now they're blocking the roads.
Yeah, they're saying in this Wall Street Journal column that they can go 170 miles on a charge. They can't go. Most of them cannot go more than that. And then they also are so heavy with the batteries because it's massive. They require bigger and heavier batteries, and which means they can only carry lighter loads to avoid damaging roads. And then remember, when those batteries are dead in about 5 years, at least that's what I've seen for like Teslas and such, that whole battery, the size of that massive battery, is going to have to be put in the ground to do nothing but go to waste after that.
Well, they have no way of disposing of it.
Correct. This whole thing is a gosh darn disgusting disaster. And the only way to get it is China. The California mandate, they're all coming from China, and China's selling them because they want to dump them on us, like they want to dump tons of their EVs on us in plants they're building, massive, massive plants. Trump was talking about this today in his speech. They want to dump on us all their EVs from their Mexican plants, but they're doing it already in California with the EV truck mandates, and this is just a nightmare. Ray, I appreciate your call, my friend, and thanks. Let's go to Mike in Keller. Mike, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Mike.
It's a pleasure. It's just this thing about the EV trucks.
Yes.
It's crazy a nightmare because, like the gentleman said, because it takes more power to pull all the weight that a regular gas truck would do. I mean, UPS already used natural gas, so that's the thing that should have been a mandate for one.
Yes. Well, no mandates. Okay. No mandates, but natural gas.
No mandate,
yeah.
But if there was a mandate,
yeah,
I would prefer natural gas as opposed to a regular electric, for the reasons being that, in reality, China's sitting back laughing. What they did, they pimped all our prostitutions or politicians. That's the real word for them. They ain't nothing but legalized prostitutes. They're getting money on the back end and generational wealth. And because they say yes, when you put it to their face what they've done, they get a case of amnesia and all start moonwalking like Michael Jackson.
I appreciate your call, Mike from Keller. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it very much. All right, let's go to next we have Zach in Rockwall. Zach, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Zach.
How's it going, man?
Good.
Okay, so here's something that, and it's not been very widely broadcast, but there was a study done, I'm not sure what group, you probably find it on the internet, done in 2022, and it was purposely not released, that the EV cars, like Teslas and whatnot, are actually worse for the environment carbon footprint-wise because of the weight. Yeah. Because of the weight of the vehicle, they burn through tires 3 times faster, which produces a larger carbon footprint than a gasoline motor. And because of the weight, the lower center of gravity of the vehicle, they are ungodly unsafe. They will go right through a guardrail, right through a concrete barrier, because those particular safety devices were not designed to stop that much weight, that low center of gravity.
Yeah, this is a whole disaster of many things. And, of course, don't forget that if you have a regular passenger EV car, like what happened in Plano not too long ago, about a month or two ago, we talked about it on the air, the guy had his battery service at the Tesla place, and the next day it just caught fire spontaneously. Well, probably not spontaneously, but it caught fire in his garage of his house. And the big problem is once it catches fire in the house, in the garage, if they can't drag it out before it's too late, it burns the whole house down. And that does not stop burning for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it requires hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of gallons of water for one EV that burns forever. In that case, they dragged it out before it was too late. It set the whole house on fire. They drag it out into the street and it just burned for as I said, hours and hours and hours. But this is a disaster. I'm a hard pass on any of this stuff in every way possible. We got Charlie, North Richland Hills. We'll take your call coming up next. Plus your call at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. One good news, one of our states in the union sued in federal court and struck down one of Biden's climate rules. I'm going to tell you which one that is. Also coming up next, Jay Leno's wife, sadly battling dementia, and how the symptoms sound a lot like President Joe Biden, unfortunately. And when I read to you what they're saying in this article about it, it really sounds like our president, sadly. Next on the Chris Kroc Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM 93.3. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. So, in just a moment, the sad story of Jay Leno's wife with dementia, and how it sounds a lot like Joe Biden's symptoms. There's just a few things I read. I'm like, dang, that sounds like Joe Biden. And nothing funny about it, but I do believe it's the same kind of thing we're seeing. Meantime, do you want electric semis delivering all your goods and services, as Joe Biden just pushed through in a mandate Good Friday, trying to sneak it in over the weekend? Are you willing to pay more for it and have more road congestion because, one EV tractor trailer semi cannot carry as much as a regular one that's powered by diesel? And are you okay with more brownouts and blackouts on our energy grid in order to make more of our grid green? Heck no is what I say. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. And before we go to Charlie in North Richland Hills, just a quick thing. Federal court did strike down a climate rule that required states to set and track reduction goals for greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles on our highways. Thank goodness the Kentucky Attorney General won in his suit against Biden. He said the radical environmental agenda of Biden has lost touch with reality. Kentucky families, farmers, and workers are paying the price. Like all Americans, Kentuckians love our trucks, cars, and vans. Exactly. Keep your freaking hands and regulations off of our vehicles. Charlie in North Richland Hills, you're on News Talk 820 Actually, no. We have a new way of saying it. You're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hello.
Hello, Chris. How are you doing tonight?
Good, friend. How are you?
Very well. I don't want them touching my delivery system. I like what I have, but their desire to do this is trying to push something through the environmental scare tactics to push EVs and EV trucks especially onto us just to create chaos.
Right.
They know the technology is not there. They know they won't work, although they lie through their teeth and tell us that it will work.
Mm-hmm.
As one of the other callers pointed out, trucks and stuff die in cold temperatures with EV batteries and everything else going bad. These charging stations aren't there, but they really don't care. Like everything that has happened since Biden has taken office, and even before then, everything that they have done is designed to create chaos, where it be the unrelenting crossing of illegals at the border, where it has to do with other environmental regulations pushed upon us, whereas the economy, everything is designed to create chaos, because even though they want money, and Biden's for sale for anything, whoever's the highest bidder, from the Chinese to the Mexican cartels or Iran, can buy Biden.
Mm-hmm.
But what they want more than money is they want power. And if they get chaos, they get power. So if they can upend our economy, if they can upend our transportation system and create general chaos amongst the population, they get power. And that's all they want.
You know, it's crazy. You'd have to be a complete moron to push this through. It's not possible what they're doing, and it makes them look really, really incompetent. And I for their own sake, I hope it's just a bunch of leftist people who have no idea what they're doing with these mandates, and I don't understand if you're right, whether they're trying to have chaos or if they don't care, they have no idea. These people are grossly incompetent or intentionally creating chaos, as you said. Either or, it's horrible. I can't imagine why people would want to continue to vote for this. It's unthinkable. It's just unbelievable. That's what it is. It's unthinkable. It's unbelievable. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Jay Leno's wife has trouble recognizing him. And amid a dementia battle, the lawyer and Jay Leno filed for conservatorship over his wife's estate. There's something to do with a doctor and such, going back and forth. I don't know what that's about. All I do know is this. With the dementia battle that his wife has, in addition to having advanced dementia, Mavis, the woman he talked about for years, we all are familiar with Jay talking about his wife Mavis, sometimes she does not know her husband Jay, nor her date of birth. She has a lot of disorientation, will ruminate about her parents who have both passed and her mother who died about 20 years ago. The legal filings read. Well, I thought about that with Joe Biden. I'm like, this literally is like what Joe Biden says and does. Is it not? In addition to having advanced dementia, they said Mavis sometimes does not know her husband, Jay, nor her date of birth. Well, remember Joe Biden, according to special counsel Robert Hur, Joe Biden brought up his son, Hunter, his son, Bo, who died, not from being a Gold Star dad, not during combat, but I think 3 or 5 years later from the most common form of brain cancer, not from burn pits. He died from the most common form of brain cancer, blastoma, and he brought up his son's death. Her never brought up his son's death. And Joe even mentioned that in his press conference that night. He was so mad and frustrated. He either didn't remember or just bald-faced lied about it. That, how dare you ask me about my son? Dude, you brought it up. You brought your son up thinking about when he died and the dates, and you could not remember what year he died. You could not remember what year, Joe, you served as vice president, and all sorts of really sad things, and that literally is dementia science here. You don't remember dates. That's literally what Mavis, Jay Leno's current wife, has with her advanced dementia. She's lost a lot of disorientation. How many times is Joe on that stage not knowing which way to go? All the time. It's not like it's a one-time thing or once a year. It's all the time. Left, right, I don't know. Ruminating about her parents who have both passed. Her mother who died 20 years ago. How many times has he called for somebody that's been dead for a year? Somebody who's been dead for a long time. Talked about meeting with world leaders who've been dead for 20 years. The same freaking thing. So to me, it's obvious the man has some dementia issues. Obviously. It's very sad. And other times he's as crisp as can be for him. Other times he surprises us with being fairly normal, even though he is like a husk where he's barely moving and such as he talks. Does this sound familiar to you, though, of some of what we're seeing with Joe Biden? What we're seeing from, unfortunately, in this story about Jay Leno's wife, Mavis, today with dementia. Does this sound similar to some of what we're seeing in Joe Biden? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Does it actually sound similar to you to what we're seeing in Joe Biden? That's the question for you to call in at now at 800-288-WBAP. That's 800-288-9227. I think it's unequivocal. The disorientation on stage, not knowing which way to go, the not remembering when his sons died, and talking about people who have been dead, world leaders, or people who he's asking about where they are, or have been dead for a year or 5 years. This is the kind of stuff that literally lines up with that. So I absolutely think that that's what we're seeing. I think that a lot of people know that, and it's very sad. And I think that subsequently you have a lot of people running his administration that are far, far left, and I think it really is the third term of Barack Hussein Obama. And man, is he pushing through stuff that he could never have thought of pushing through in his wildest dreams. Now, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, we have a very unfortunate follow-up on that Norwegian cruise line story we talked about yesterday around this time. The 6 or 7 people that were abandoned at a port, and they keep flying and going to different ports trying to get back on from this African cruise. There's another twist to this about a woman who Norwegian Cruise Lines is trying to say, well, she was part of that group that missed the cruise, and her family says no, she was kicked off the cruise at one of the ports because they thought she was dying, so they said basically get off the cruise ship and die here. And they left her. Unbelievable. You'll hear about that story coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. This is horrific, and Norwegian Cruise Lines has a lot to answer for. I mean, this is insanity. So, remember we talked about yesterday at this exact time, a whole group of Americans, I think it was like 6 of them, were left behind at a port because in Africa, on an African island 6,000 miles from their home, because the excursion that they did ran late. It wasn't their fault. It was the excursion's fault. The ship's captain, they did show up on time before the ship left. The captain would not let them on board. That is insanity. And then they traveled to the next port, and the way the ocean levels were, something kind of happened, a storm or something. I can't remember what it was. but the levels were too low or too high or something where they couldn't port, they couldn't get on the ship, so then they had to go to like a third location. I mean, this is insanity. Now, much worse is this story today. It's kind of a dual story, one from the Daily Mail. The next we're going to go from Fox News that gives more details. Stranded 80-year-old Norwegian cruise passenger suffered a stroke and was left alone to find her way back to the United States from a remote African island after the Norwegian Cruise Line. This is a separate cruise with the same cruise line, Norwegian Cruise Lines. They left her on her own after having a stroke and said, you need to have treatment on land. She was hospitalized. She was released 24 hours later despite being disoriented and having trouble speaking. 8 other passengers, not 6, who had been stranded by the cruise line prior to that, when they heard that there was another American passenger stranded with no ID and no cash. This time it was this woman. They helped her book a flight to Portugal. She suffered a stroke during the Norwegian cruise, was left behind. Family demands the cruise line take accountability. She was on a museum tour and suddenly collapsed and fell unconscious. The 21-night Norwegian Dawn cruise line that saw 8 other passengers on a different tour stranded in the capital city of Sao Tome that same day. So here's the Fox News story. Americans stranded by Norwegian cruise says save... Americans stranded by Norwegian cruise save elderly passenger. Family says the ship, quote, left her to die. She medically disembarked, they said. They did a medical disembarkment. They never called the emergency contacts that the mom had. Had one conversation with the family, the cruise did, between Wednesday and Monday without providing any answers. 2 days later, coincidentally, 6 Americans and 2 Australians, I said it like that, were stranded on the same African island. And the tour guide ran late, as I mentioned. They're heroes, says the family. They saved our mom. Authorities on the island told the group of 8 another American was left behind without money or ID. That's when the Campbells, one of the families, found out that she was in some medical facility. They took it upon themselves to pay her medical bills, her food and hotel, and get her to connect and contacted her with her family. It was like our mother didn't exist, says this family, calling the cruise line's loan statement issued over the weekend false propaganda that Norwegian Cruise Line is pushing. The bottom line is she was not part of the group of people who were late getting back to the ship. They consistently lumped her into the rest of the group as being late to the ship, all while not taking any responsibility for her care. All they did was send her to a local clinic who completely misdiagnosed her condition, releasing her to fend for herself. Can you freaking imagine that? I mean, I don't know what would be worse. Might as well hold her down and put her, try to kill her yourself. I mean, my gosh. And I'm not hearing any defense that is reasonable. My gosh. Family says the Norwegian Cruise Line originally said, sorry, there's nothing we can do. And that was it. No answers to what happened, why her emergency contacts weren't called, who's taking care of her, where she is. Can you imagine your mom had a stroke? You have no idea. And this one family took care of her and were her saints there that took care of her. My gosh. The cruise line Norwegian says following her disembarkation from the ship, our care team was immediately activated to provide support to the guests. We attempted to call the guest several times. We were unable to reach her. We worked directly with our port agent and to receive updates about her. In instances like these, as the guest was released from the hospital in a coherent state, our protocol is to contact the guest directly. And the guest had since been escorted to a flight on Lisbon, Portugal, and then put into care of airport staff to continue her journey to the U.S. She's now made a safe return. Anyway, this is so bad. So bad.